Allah Ta'ala, He created everything in pairs. That's the concept we want to understand. And what we learn to realize is that if everything is in pairs, everything is in pairs. Allah's created everything in pairs. So amil has an opposite. This is the one. Amil is something that causes action. Is doing something. Its opposite would be your ma'amul. Ma'amul. That's the opposite. That's your ismu maf'ul. That's the recipient of that action. Okay? So you have an amil and you have a ma'amul. Okay? Right with me? You have an amil and you have a ma'amul. Okay? We're going to come back to this in a moment. Okay? So everybody understand amil? From the verb amila. Amila means to work, to perform, to do something. Okay? So, in the definition of i'rab, tagyiru awakil kalimi is the changing, the rotating of the end of the word, liftilaf, right? Due or because of the different awamil, amil, different agents, factors, reasons, ad-dakhila, that's right. Right? You can't have i'rab until you have an amil. Right? Remember last week we said, remind me, we're going to go over something, and that was, for i'rab to exist, we need 4 things. We need 4 things. Number 1, you need an amil. You need an amil. Number 2, we need a ma'mul. Okay? So let's stop right there first. When you want to identify i'rab, when you want to analyze i'rab, identify your amil. What's causing the i'rab to exist? Because that's the definition of i'rab. Everybody with me? Yes. Look, tagyiru. So this alternating between the end of the word, it only takes place because you have an amil that's being used. So you can't, if you can't escape an amil in i'rab. Okay, everybody with me? So, like if we have, look at the word, if we say, look at the basmala for an example. Put in red what we want to highlight in it for i'rab. Okay? Bismi. Bismi. Okay? So if we take this word out, ismun, out by itself, ismun, by itself. In our reading, though, we say bismi. Why? Because the i'rab tells us is majroor. That can't happen unless we have an amil. Where's the amil? What forced that vowel to come out? The preposition ba. The ba is an amil. The ba is an amil. So you can't have i'rab unless you have an amil. Right? So that, if you want it, you got to read, when you're reading the text, listening. Once you use an amil is going to force something to happen. Cause and effect. For every action, there's a reaction. That's the law. So an amil is a cause. So once it's unleashed, it's going to cause something to happen. Okay, Kwan? That's i'rab. Period. Okay? So once you use an amil, right? Once you want to you have to identify your amil. What's going to cause this tagir to take place? Right? So prepositions are just one type because there are many types. That's why it's in the plural. Awamil. There's many of them. Many different reasons or factors that affect i'rab. Right? So this change can be lafzan. You can clearly see it. Fil bayti. You clearly can see the kasra. You clearly can see it. Or it's taqdiran. You can't see it, but you know it's there. Mustafa. Al-Mustashfa. You can't see it. Amrika. Okay? Adhabu ila Amrika. Ana min Amrika. You can't see it. But if I say Ana min al-Iraq, you clearly can see that. Ana min al-Iraq. But if I say Ana min Amrika, we don't change. The word here is sub-Iraq, but you can't see the change. That's what we mean by taqdiran. It's understood. You know it's there, but we can't put the word, it can't visibly show because of the nature of the word, because of the type of word, but it's still there. Okay? So for i'rab to exist, identify your amil. Everybody with me? Then we move to ma'amul, because that's the second thing, because there's 4 things we need for i'rab to exist. Then we move to ma'amul. What's the ma'amul? The amil is going to affect something, meaning affect another word. What is received? Look, ma'amul is the recipient of the amil. It's being affected. What word is being affected? That's your ma'amul. So, what word is being affected? The word ismun. So that's your ma'amul. Okay? Habib? Sabir? Okay? Right? It's being affected. The third thing we need, the third thing we need, once we realize that did, right? All amils have different names. Now, amil is one separate entity. The other 3 things are in that next word. Whatever the ma'mul is, then it takes the other 2 things, because we said there's 4 things. So the amil is by itself, and then the next 3 things are wrapped up in your ma'mul. Okay, you understand, Alan?
Yes.
Kwame? No. Right? The amil is by itself. There are 4 things you need for i'rab to happen. You need your amil. Now that word, once you identify your amil, then everything else you're looking for is through your ma'amul. So now that once we identify our ma'amul, right? So we're only dealing with these 2 words right here. The ba and the word ismu. What's ba? Ba is a preposition. Right? Ba is a preposition. Right? Mm-hmm. So now, once you have a preposition, what we call this word ismun after it? And even in English, use English grammar term, because we hadn't probably gone over that in Arabic yet. What would we call ismun now, in relationship to the ba, to the preposition? Huh? In relationship to the preposition. What you say? Oh, close. That's close. What, anybody else? He said noun of the preposition.
Prepositional noun?
Huh? That's real close.
Prepositional phrase? No, not
The whole thing is the phrase. The whole thing. What we call ismun in relationship to the preposition?
The
Object of of the preposition. That's what we call it in English. Object of the preposition. Okay? Look, right? That's the third thing you need. What? Not that, but you need a position. Then that ma'amul takes a certain job title, a function in the sentence. Ask yourself, what's the title of that word now? Okay? What's the position of ismun now? It's the object of the it's the ism of the preposition. That's why I say very close, because I would call ismu majrur, the noun of the preposition. In English, we say object of the preposition. In this case, okay. So the third thing that we need, okay, is how we're going to term this here. In Arabic, we call it mawqif or wadhifa, a title, a position. Wadhifa, we call it in Arabic a wadhifa. A job title or a function, right? A function. Let's say type of function, grammatical function. Wadhifa. Okay? Wadhifa. Okay? Grammatical function. That's wadhifa. Okay? Right? So ask yourself, what's the position of ismun? It's the object of the preposition. It's the noun of the preposition. Okay? All right, Ali?
Yeah.
Okay? Once you identify your wadhifa, and as it relates to i'rab, once you identify your wadhifa, okay, is the function, I'm going to ask you a real simple question. Simple questions, grammar always said, requires a simple answer. The wadhifa, the function of a mubtada, right? The function of a mubtada is the function of a mubtada the same function as the wadhifa of a object of a preposition? They're the same functions?
Is that a question?
Mm-hmm.
The subject?
A mubtada is a position, is a wadhifa, is a function in the sentence. Grammatically, it's a function. My question to you is this here. Is the function of a mubtada the same functions as an object of the preposition?
No.
What you say? No. La. I. La. La.
No.
Na'am.
No.
Na'am. Okay, why na'am? Because the no's have you outnumbered. That's why I'm starting with y'all too.
Well, like in that.
Is it the same? Do they have the same function?
Yeah. Well, cause like you were saying that the preposition is the cover, so that would make it follows the cover. Like it, the noun, like it's giving the information about the sentence. Well, that in that sense.
That's what you're gonna say too?
No,
Tell me.
I just did it because everybody else said the other.
Now, would you really participate?
That's why I was really participating.
So if everybody had said yes, you would have said
No, I kind of had a reason why, but
I want
it
to
was
hear
both
your
mostly because everybody said it's just because it's a subject, and I looked at what you have there, and that's not actually the subject.
Well, we're not talking about subject. We're not talking about subject person. We're not talking about.
You're talking about
just
the function of it.
We're talking about the purpose.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Okay. Let me put it like this. Then let me put it like this here. Okay. Let's put it in real terms then, and then we can answer the question. Because we said wadhifa. A wadhifa we said means what? What kind of meaning can we give wadhifa? A wadhifa.
Position.
Position. Position where? Let's put it realistically.
Position in a sentence.
No. Let's come out of ground. Let's put it in real life. At work.
Job.
At a job, right? Because that money talk.
Yeah.
Right? Now we're at work. Okay? Do you think wadifa, talking about a position, not that there's nothing wrong with it. You think the person who got this McNessa and he doing this here, McNessa. Everybody know what McNessa is? Right? Doing that, and the person who's sitting down at the mektab, they both have a position. Are their positions the same? Huh? Are they the same? No. Right? This person who's sitting down at the mektab, he may be the mudir. You think the mudir is the same as the, we call it in Arabic, the nadif or munadif?
Sweeper.
You think they're the same? They still have a function, right? In order for that company to work, everybody got to do their job within that company. The mudir, he has his function, and that other has his function. They're not the same, although they are position. Everybody with me? So that's what that's all what wadifa is. The wadifa is a position. It's function in the sentence. So to go back to the question, is the mubtada and the object of a preposition, do they have the same function? Say la now. You stayed on your la. Still on la. You're changing your mind now.
You said if they have the same function?
Same function. Keep it realistically. Just Arabic is a very straightforward language. It is, huh?
And
do they have the same function? Can the person look? Can the person look? This okay? Let's put it like this here then. Okay, because we trying to lead up to something. The person who's cleaning the bathrooms, on his hands and knees, picking up the trash and paper, is going to look one way. We're not trying to say it's bad, but it's going to look one way, and the mudir is going to look another way. Everybody agree? No. Because you can tell if they both came in dressed the same. Could you tell them apart if you didn't know?
No, but I would tell whoever signed my checks.
You don't know them. You don't know. But you see one person dressed one way, another person dressed another. What you going to assume? One person is in charge, and the other person is not in charge. I mean, right? I mean, you can clearly see what is some things that's going to tell you that they're not the same, although they both have a function. Right. So, just ended. The mubtada they don't have the same function. And because of that, that takes us to the fourth thing that's needed. It's a sign. There got to be something to tell you, okay, this here is attributed to these functions, or this position. This is to those functions. It got to be something to distinguish between one from another. That's where the tagyir comes in at. Right? There's a reason why sometimes it's a dhamma, sometimes it's a fatha, sometimes it's a kesra, sometimes it's a sakun. That's the sign itself. So this i'rab, we said, is the alternating of the final vowel of a word, because you have different awamil, different reasons, factors that are occurring. Something is going on. Okay? So, once we identify our amil, we know we have to have a ma'amul. Because once you have an amil, this amil is going to affect another word. Right? That ma'mul, that word that has been affected now, is going to take on a particular job function in the grammatical function. Right? Yep. Now, whatever that job function is, that job function is going to determine what sign it gets. Is it going to be rough? Is it going to be nasb? Is it going to be jar? Or is it going to be jazm? And that comes with so the third position, or the fourth thing that we need, is we call it alama. Alama means what position the i'rab is going to be. In other words, is it rough? Is it nasb? Is it jar? Or is it jazm? So that's why we ask you, is a mubtada the same thing as a object of the preposition? What do you say now? What do you say?
Nah,
Now what?
I don't know really what's going on right now. Nah, ask me the question again so I can fully understand.
Is a mubtada
Yeah.
the same as an object of a preposition? They both nouns, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are their functions the same? No, their functions not the same. They have two different job purposes. A mubtada is a mubtada. An object of a preposition, what's the purpose of the object of the preposition? It comes after a preposition. Look, watch. Al-waladu. Everybody see it? Everybody see the sentence? Al-waladu fil masjidi. Everybody see it? Everybody see it? Right? Al-waladu is, what's the i'rab? Marfu. Fil masjidi is what? Majrur. What's the, al-walad is what in the sentence? What's the position of walad? What's the position? Meaning, what's the wadhifa? We erase that word?
No,
wadhifa. What's the wadhifa? It's mubtada. It's the mubtada. Right? That's the wadhifa. Fil masjidi. What's this position of masjid? What's the position of masjid? Huh? Object of the preposition. That's the wadhifa. So, look. Al-masjid has a position. Right? And al-waladu has a position. Are they the same?
No.
No, they're not the same position. It's out. That's what it's clear cut. The positions aren't the same. There's a difference between mubtada and there's a difference between the object of the preposition. That's all. It's the difference between the two. They're not the same. And because of that, they don't carry the same sign. That's the fourth thing you need. They don't carry the same sign. Mubtada in grammar is always marfu. The object of the preposition isn't marfu. That's a different sign. But nonetheless, we still need i'rab. We're going to work backwards and we'll come to this one last. So we said we need how many things for i'rab to exist? What's the first thing we look for? Amil. What is causing i'rab to occur? Fi is the amil. Fi is the amil. And fi, if you have amil, you need ma'mul. Where's the ma'mul at for fi? The word masjid. So in masjid now, we're going to find the other three things. We're going to find the other three things in masjid now. The first thing we're going to find in masjid is that we know that it's the ma'mul. And because of that, so we already know now that it's taking a position, that's the wadhifa. And now, this position, what position is that? When it's the object of the preposition, it takes a certain sign. It's either going to be rough, nasb. These are the signs of i'rab. It's either rough, nasb, jar, or jazm. Which one is it going to take out of these four? It's going to take jar. That's the sign for masjid now. It's taking jar. Okay? Everybody with me? Alama. You haven't had this word before? No? You had this word before, Ali? I think you had it before. You never heard this word before? Okay. Alam. Yeah, we're not patriotic, so that's why we don't have none flying around. We would know this word. See? See, that's why I associate our patrioticness. We really, yeah, but that's right. Right? Just take off the time out of boot actually, but that's alam. Right? You've seen that word before, right? Remember in the,
I
right?
haven't memorized it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's alam. Okay. All right? Okay? Now let's go on back. Let's go back now. Al-Walid. Al-Walid. Now, I done already gave you something. I already told you that it's a ma'amur. I mean, that is a wazifa. The wazifa is also what? If that's the position, what else is it? Huh? It already has the alama, right? It already has that.
It's a subject.
Okay, it already has that. It has the sign already. It has the alama. For i'rab to occur, there are 4 things you need. What's the first thing we need? Amil. Where's the amil at?
Alif Lam for the, no? Not for, you talking about waladu?
Huh? For wallet. Because right now this is being used. What's the function? What's the function of al-walad in the sit? What's the function? What's the wazifa of it? It's the mubtada. So this here word by itself, the mubtada by itself is ma'mul. The wazifa we already know because that's the mubtada is a position. And the mubtada takes a certain i'rab. It takes a certain sign. It don't. Is the mubtada jazm? No. Is it jar? No. Is it nas? No. It's rough. Right. So it's rough. So it's already that. The fact that it's the mubtada, in grammar they explain that the fact that it begins that made it the amil. So it's something that we estimate basically. It's the mubtada, right? But it's not the amil. The fact that it's the mubtada, that's what's acting on it. Okay. So this here is your ma'mul, and the position of it is what? It's the mubtada of the sentence. Okay? Right. It's all right in the sentence. And that's what we're going to get. So let's go back to the basmala right quick. So this B is your preposition. It's an amil. That's done. Okay, Ali? Yes. Now we're on ismun. So now ask yourself, what's the position? Right? Because now we know ismun is being affected because of the preposition, right? That makes it your ma'mul. Everybody with me? Yes. So in your ma'mul, you're going to find the next 3 things now. What next 3 things? We already noticed the ma'mul. It's the wazifa. What wazifa? What's the position? Object of the preposition. And now you're going to find what? You're going to find, it got to take one of these positions now, one of these signs. It's either going to take the sign that's associated with rough, nas, jar, or which one is it taking?
Majroor is rough.
It's majroor. It's taking jar. So that's when we ask you, is the mubtada and the noun of the are they the same? They have a position, but they're not the same because they don't take the same sign.
So next question. So with all the ones all the things that take the same sound, would they be the same?
In that case, yeah. For an example, watch. Good. Everybody understand this question? Al-waladu. Al-waladu. يذهب إلى المدرسة. الولد يذهب إلى المدرسة. Right, see it? We understand the sentence. Who don't understand the sentence? الولد يذهب إلى المدرسة. الولد is what? What's position? It's mubtada. Mubtada needs what? Cover. Where's the cover at?
That whole thing.
The whole verbal sentence is your cover. يذهب إلى المدرسة. Everybody with me? Yes. Cover in Arabic is of 4 types. It can be a single word. Okay? It can be a nominal or a verbal sentence. Right? Or it could be a prepositional phrase. Or what we call, or when you have a word, an adverbial phrase. Okay? Those are your cover. Okay, and we go into that more detail. But look, so al-waladu is mubtada. Okay? يذهب إلى المدرسة is what? Is the cover. What's the rule for cover? Because the cover now is the what? If we want to look at analyze this here, the cover, the whole cover, the whole thing is cover. So that's all ma'mul now. All of that is ma'mul. The cover is your ma'mul. You don't see it, Quan? Look, go to it. Look, come. If we say al-kitabu, jadid. Al-kitabu jadid. Right? Al-kitabu jadid. Okay? Kitab mubtada. Right? It's a mubtada. Okay? It's a mubtada. And this word by itself, because it's the mubtada, it's already has been affected. It already has a ma'mul, the fact that it's beginning the sentence, or it's what we're talking about. All right? We got that?
No. Say that again.
The mubtada on its own merit has already been affected.
Because it begins the sentence and it is the mubtada.
Right? It's already affected. So it's amil you can't see. It's understood. It's amil is understood because it's what we're talking about. So this now is in fact your ma'mul. And in your ma'mul, you look for the next three things. And what are the next three things? Position. What's the function? Right? That's the wazifa. Right? So we already have the ma'mul, wazifa, and then you look for the sign. What sign is it going to take? Okay? It's going to take the sign of rough. Okay? Now that's done. Now we come to jadid. Jadid is what? It's the cover. But a cover is a what? A wazifa. It's a position. So then that, if this is the wazifa, so jadid is the ma'mul. Yeah. Where's the amil for this? What's affecting this? Don't have to look too far. There you go. This becomes what then? For this.
The amil.
This is the amil for this.
Even though it's the amil for itself. Oh,
exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Because it's not, right? Because if this changes, that's going to change. This word here is affecting this word. Whatever we say about this word has to follow this word. Right? Because so this is the amil for this word. This is the word calling the shots. Okay? So jadid now is what? Jadid is the ma'mul. So now we look for everything in this word now. What three things are we going to look for? Well, two things, because we already noticed the ma'mul. So now we look for its position, and then we look for the alam. So what's in Arabic tells us what? What's the position of jadid? It's the cover. And what in the sign the cover takes in Arabic is what? Of these four, what sign is it going to take? It's going to take rough also. So now let's go back to the sentence now. That's the rule in Arabic grammar. It doesn't change. The rule says that the sign for the cover is that it's rough. Al-waladu, mubtada. Where's our cover at? The verbal sentence. We can't show rough in there. But it's understood. But you can't. That's why the definition is lafdhan. You either gonna see it, you can see the change clearly, or you have to estimate. You understand why it's changed, but you can't see it. You can't see rough in this verbal sentence. You can't see it. But it's still, nonetheless, it's still in the case of rough. That's the position. That's the sign.
And that would still be the sign, right?
It's still the sign.
Even though you can't see it.
You can't see it. I'm the principal of the school because I get on my hands and knees. That change my function? I mean, right? It don't change your function. the definition of i'rab is very important for us. Very, very important. Okay? In the book here, he's not getting into this now. But my habit is, I don't want us to come up on this later and then we don't understand. I'rab, for i'rab to exist, there are 4 things we need. We need an amil. Then you ask yourself, okay, the amil is the doer. Okay? It's going to call, something has to be affected by the amil. Ask yourself, whatever is being affected by your amil is your ma'mul. And in your ma'mul, you're going to find the other 2 things. What other 2 things? The position. What's the grammatical position of that word? And then what sign is it going to take? If we had to make a column in our daftar, right? Make columns of rough, because i'rab we only have 4. Rough, what are they? Nas, jar,
majzoom.
we're using 2 different words. We say rough. We only call it marfu when the word, right. So the names of i'rab, rough, nas, jar, jazm. That's the name of it. That's the names. Rough, nas, jar, jazm. Here we can say qaf. Okay? So if we was to make a column with these words in here, what things are rough? That you know of already? What things that has to be rough? Mubtada. Cover. Come on. If I change this sentence around, look, if right now we say al-waladu, what if we say yadhabu al-waladu? What's the position of al-waladu now? If we say yadhabu, look, al-waladu. Everybody see this, right? Same sentence. Yadhabu al-waladu ila al-madrasa. What's the, right? Yadhab is the what? Is an amil now. And this becomes ma'mul. What's the position, right? Because now you have, what's the position of al-walid now? We have mubtada, cover. What else y'all gave me? What else? No. What else did you give me? Y'all name some things for rough. What did you name? You name mubtada. You name cover. Oh, that was it. Just 2.
No, we didn't even know.
Wow. Come on. Don't let this beat you. Mudaf. No. It's not. Mudaf doesn't have anything to do with i'rab. Because why? Because mudaf can be anything. It can be modified. So you see that's not a position in grammar.
Object of the verb. Right? No?
No. We're talking about, what's the position of al-walid now? Habiba, come on. What's al-walid now?
That's a verb.
Right? No, mubtada. This is the verb. Huh? Fa'il. This is the one doing it, right? In the verbal sentence, and look, in the noun we call it a mubtada, in the verb we call it a fa'il. So that's 3 things now that you know have to take the sign of rough. Mubtada, cover, and the fa'il. Those 3 things right now. There are more than that. Not too many more, but at least you know 3 things. So what I would do, I would open up to my notebook. I would make a column, put rough, put nas, put jar, and jazm, and then I'll start labeling those things that are rough. Mubtada, 1. Number 2, cover. Number 3, fa'il. And then when you learn those things, and then think about it. Okay? Let's go to jar now. What things, when will a word become majroor? What words are majroor?
Nouns preceded by huruful jar.
Prepositions. Right? So that's what's going to dictate, tell you that a noun. Right? So if it's a noun, if the noun that comes after object of the preposition. Right? That's right. So right? So you can clearly start seeing then, once you know that it takes this position, it gotta take a certain sign. Meaning it has to take a certain sign of i'rab. It's either gonna be rough, nas, jar, or jazm. That's it. Mubtada is going to is take the sign of rough. Cover takes the sign of rough. Fa'il takes the sign of rough. An object of the preposition, it don't take the sign of rough. What does it take? It takes the sign of jar. How about if we say Akra'u, I am reading al-kitab. Akra'u al-kitab. What's the position of al-kitab? What's the position? What's the position? What's the wadifa? What's its function?
I'll say the sentence again.
Akra'u al-kitab.
It's this thing being read. Yeah.
Come on. Maf'ulun bihi. And what's the sign? What position was the maf'ulun bihi take? Nas. You understand? So once you understand, the position has to match up with one of these four. In other words, a position don't take a mubtada don't take all four of these. A position, a mubtada only can take one of these. And there but so many things that are rough, positional wise, function wise. Mubtada. Among them, the ones that we know now, mubtada, cover, fat. We have three things. If we say something, if we say a position that look at hada, that's a good example. Hada, you can't see the Arab in hada. But hada is used like hada kitabun. Hada is mubtada. So you know the sign now. It's understood that it's rough. But you can't see it. But it's understood. Why? Because that's the position that is taken. The job function, the wadifa, hada, in this hada kitab, is that mubtada. And grammar tells us that the mubtada is marfu. Okay? If you say, Ra'aytu hada. Ra'aytu hada. Ra'aytu means I saw this. So, what's the position of hada now? Ra'aytu, I saw hada. Maf'ulun bihi. So what's you see how it's because you understand the position. That's why it's so important to know what position. Those four things, we cannot escape it from mi'rab. Once you know your amil, move that out of the way. Now look at your ma'mul. Ask yourself, what's the position? If you know the position, so right now, for rough, we know three things that has to be rough. There's no way around it. Mubtada, cover, and your fa'il. Okay. Right now, we only know, I think we only know, as a class, we may know more individually or whatever, but as a class, we know at least one thing that must be mansub. That's your maf'ulun bihi. Okay? And for jar, what do we know it has to be jar? Or majrur? Object of the preposition. What else?
The
Mudafun ilayh. If you know, that's the position now, you see, because that must be majrur now. The second word of an idafa must be majrur. The noun that comes after an adverb. Okay? Adverbs are like prepositions, so sometimes, it's all mixed up in one, but we still treat it as a separate entity. So if the noun after an adverb. Okay? So those are three things we have automatically for what has to be majrur. All right? At least three things, right? Ism, noun of the preposition, object of the preposition, right? Mudafun ilayhi, and the noun that comes after an adverb, like amam and madrasati. Amam is an adverb. Noun that comes after that must be majrur. That's the sign it's going to take.
Right. Because we were saying those are kind of like idafas.
Yeah, but in Arabic they treat it separate though.
Okay.
If we can actually add it all together, or we can treat it separate. Doesn't matter. But I'm saying for us though, so ask yourself, what's the position, what's the function grammatically of this word?
You saying the mudaf is not because it can take any.
It can be any, right? It can be any position. In other words, mudaf don't have to only be mubtada.
Oh.
It don't have to just, it can be mubtada, it can be khabar, it can be the maf'ulun bihi, it can be أذهب إلى مكتب المدير. It can be majroor, you see? أذهب, I'm going, إلى مكتب المدير.
Right, I see.
You see? So it's not, mudaf doesn't take a particular position. In other words, it's not always, so it depends on how it's being used.
Right, I see.
But mudaf ilayhi, on the other hand, is always majroor.
Okay, I see.
Okay? 4 things for i'rab to occur. Amil is out of the way. And then you need the next word, or the ma'mul, takes the other 2. Ma'mul, wadhifa. Ask yourself, what is the function in the sentence grammatically? What title would you give it? And then from that, it's going to take an alama. Alama here means, is it rough? Is it nasb? Is it jar?